You said a lot of people aren't in a job that they want or doing something that they want. Okay, so this is a study done several times. I read this just recently, the actual what people dream of being. I forget what book it is, whatever. But okay, so if you ask a kid when they're 13 years old, 12 years old, 10 years old, 8 years old, when they have zero knowledge, when they're just like looking at life and what do you want to be when you grow up? It's never going to be, and this is no detriment to anything. I want to be a janitor. Anyone ever say that? It's the top ones are like doctors, nurses, lawyers, actors, astronaut. You know, astronauts actually number one. Yeah. Okay. And why do people do that? Why do people do that? Because they don't understand that there's going to be a lot of yuck. It's going to take work, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? But they never say something, I want to just be I don't want to I'm never minimizing a job, but what I'm saying is they pick things. Teachers is another big one because they see it as a prestigious thing. Like, oh, I'd love to be a teacher. Maybe they see it as helping people or whatever. But my point is that when you say you don't have the job that you want, you make yourself, maybe you're unhappy. Okay. So as hockey players, you know what you want, right? So everyone that plays hockey wants to be a hockey player. Yep. So as we're talking today, it's going to be about purpose. Now, you have a purpose. And if you know what you want, why would you not do it excellent? You know what you want and you're doing it every day. It's the best thing in the world. Why wouldn't you do it hard? Why wouldn't that be, why does it have to be talking motivation and stuff all the time?
Yeah, I think the thing that just popped into my head when you're talking about that is that quote, that Steve Ott quote that he always says, right? Like, people say they want it. Yeah. Everyone says they want it. You ask any kid that plays hockey, it's what do you want to do? Want to play in the NHL? Want to play for Team Canada? Want to win the Stanley Cup? Whatever it is. Okay. Do you actually want it though? And that's what the question is, because actually wanting it means something, right? You can't just say like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. That's what everyone does. Everyone does that. Everyone just says, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's freaking hard, man. Like, if you want to do anything that's worth anything, if you think it's going to be, you're going to just take a straight line, the chances are almost zero that that's the case, right? And I just, that quote that he said, you know, everybody says they want it, but do they really? And that's what I think about. And for most of these people that, you know, they're a kid and I want to be an astronaut. Like, do you know what it actually takes to be an astronaut? Like, it's insanity, the stuff that you have to do to be an astronaut, right? Yeah. And these are like the top tier of the elite, like of the elite minds and people that you're going to come across, right? And when you're a kid, you don't know that. Right. And then you start to grow up a little bit. You start to go through the process and you realize like, oh, like I have to do that. I have to do this.
Well, like and then the more realistic thing is that when someone tells me as their trainer or as their coach or someone that has influence, I guess, when they say I want to play in the NHL, I never ever look down and say, wow, that's hard. Right. Because this is the biggest thing is with people is the people do have dreams and have goals, and it's not that they can't do something. It's that what happens is you start getting beaten down early, right? They start getting beaten out that, wow, maybe you shouldn't dream so big. Maybe that's a little bit much. Whereas, why can't you be an astronaut? Or why can't you be a professional hockey player? Who says? Right. Who says you can't be a lawyer or a doctor or whatever? Who says that? But what happens is life beats you down. And this is more for the parents, right? Like when your kids have dreams and they have goals, they're starting from a fresh slate. Right? They don't know that it's not possible. Yeah. It actually is possible. So when kids are talking about doing something, I think it's important that there's the surrounding cast of parents and uncles. I mean, not everyone's going to care. Most people won't. But coaches and people that are influenced like us is to take that dream and to enhance it to see if that's actually something that they want. Yep. To find ways. So when they come across, you know, let's say in your position where you're responsible for most of our business in a lot of the fitness area, when someone says, well, you know, you recognize, let's just say you're doing squatting and we see a lot of issues are happening, and especially in a group of 4 to 8 kids. Someone comes in and they think they're going to work out hard and they see someone their same age that's a little bit stronger, hairy armpits, you know, they're a little bit stronger naturally or whatever. So all of a sudden, I can't squat because I got a sore back. Like, that's not a real thing. Maybe it's just an excuse. It's a way to start knocking yourself down and not achieving, right? So as a coach, you have to recognize little things like that and say, okay, well, let's start and talk them through it and give them a positive attitude a positive outlook on how to attack this problem. because that's all it is, a problem. So you give them you can't give them confidence, but you give them tools to understand that this is a process and you're going to get there. I believe in you. Right. And the more, man, so many people don't have that.
Well, I remember, and first of all, just to throw this out there, I'm coming from a perspective where I didn't make it, right? Like I was one of those kids that said, I want to play in the NHL until I
didn't make it either, right?
Yeah, right. And so we're not, and we're guys that did a lot of the right things, most of the right things, whatever. And maybe it was a bad balance or bad timing or no guidance or whatever the reason was.
Yeah, or weren't good enough.
Yeah, or just weren't good enough, right? And so I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, you better listen to what I say because I made it, because I didn't make it. Yeah. But I'm just pointing out that you need to understand that there is a process, right? Yeah. And one of the things my dad used to always say to me, because you're talking about you don't want to beat the kids down and if they have a dream or whatever. And one of the things my dad used to say to me, because my dad was great in terms of like supporting the goal kind of thing. My dad was a like hard ass about it, but he was in that way he was great because he never once said you can't do it or you shouldn't or you should think of something else or have he did sometimes say have a backup plan, I guess, but he didn't really emphasize that so much. The focus was always kind of like, do what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing, work towards what you want. Yeah. And one of the things he would say to me is, well, somebody has to make it. Yep. Right? Because someone does have to make it. And that was one of the things it was a nice driver for me as a kid because he would acknowledge, hey, this is actually really hard. Like if you think it's going to be easy, it's not. Mm-hmm. But somebody does have to make it. Yep. Like somebody gets picked. There's, what is there, 750 contracts in the NHL?
Yeah, a little more because there's more teams, but roughly. So let's say 850.
Yeah, like that. That's not a lot. In the world, right? Yeah. Like if you think you're getting one of those, you probably aren't, but somebody needs to get
Someone's going to get it.
Right? So that was the kind of the way I think for my dad, and that worked well for me. That was a way that he would balance that, where he would say, okay, you want to do this? This is really hard. Show me that you're going to do what it takes to get there on a day-to-day basis and understand how difficult it is. But there's a chance that you can make it because someone has to make it, you know? And that was a way that he would frame it, which is nice. Yep. But the other thing too is that he would focus on like the process part of it. Like I said, the day to day, what are you doing? Are you practicing every day? Like another thing he would say is every day you don't practice. Like there's somebody, like some kid somewhere that's practicing. Yeah. You said these things are grilled into my brain because when I was a kid,
truisms, right?
Yeah. Right. So that's just a good way to frame it without, kind of beating the kid down.